Budgeting. I think that's something most of us could use a little and a lot more help with. And that is the reason I'm very excited to introduce you to the author I'm interviewing on Triumph Talks today. Carrie-Ann Mclean is a passionate advocate for financial literacy and mental well being, using her life experiences to inspire and guide others. For much of her adult life, Carrie-Ann struggled with overwhelming debt, which led to anxiety, depression, and even homelessness at the age of 51. By confronting her financial mismanagement and reshaping her money mindset, she was able to break free from the cycle of debt and reclaim control over her life. With a deep understanding of the emotional and psychological challenges tied to financial difficulties, Carrie-Ann's approach goes beyond traditional budgeting advice. As the author of Budget Right, Eliminate Debt, and Improve Your Financial and Mental Well-Being, she offers a practical, compassionate, and empowering road to financial freedom. Carrie-Ann, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on Triumph Talks. I have really been looking forward to this.
So have I. Thank you so much for having me.
So you are coming to me from Australia.
Absolutely. Across the sea, yes.
Where are you exactly?
We're in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
exciting too. I would love to come visit you. Maybe we can
Yes.
work that out someday.
Absolutely. That would be lovely. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me start with the first question because I'm really
Mhm.
excited to dive into all that you've taught me as I've read your book, which you can see I have on my shelf here.
Thank
And the
you.
first question is just simply what inspired you to write this book?
Okay. So to start with, I will actually say I did not intend to write a book. I never thought I would be an author. So this is part of that negative mindset kind of thing. I could never. But I wanted to. I'm a bit of an Excel spreadsheet nerd, so I love creating budgets on spreadsheets. Once I've learned how to do that properly, so I wanted to create an Excel spreadsheet budget. It's pre-formulated so people can just work out and see exactly where they're at with their finances. Are they spending more than what they're earning, which a lot of people do. Um, and I thought, well, that's really good, but I need to explain to people it's just not just the mechanics of budgeting. It's your mindset and your beliefs and your habits and your triggers. So I started writing a little, how-to booklet to go with the spreadsheet. But my explanations, I wanted to make that simple and easy to read. And next thing I realized I have a book here. So I wanted to make sure that I gave everybody who reads the book the best tools and a holistic approach to budgeting. It's not just the mechanics of what to do. I did learn that and I got out of debt, but I didn't deal with my mindset at that time. So
Mm.
I got back into debt and the cycle still continued. So until I actually dealt with my mindset, things started to change. So that was my passion for the book is I want to really reach and help other people to understand it's a holistic thing with budgeting. It's not just counting the dollars.
Yeah, that's what I appreciate. And everything that you just said, we're going to bring up some of these amazing graphs and visuals and really give some of your wisdom right here on this show.
Thank
Um,
you.
and yeah, I can see how you just sort of gradually built into this book as
Mm-hmm.
you became educated to help yourself. And
Yes.
I'd like to just take a minute before we go into the next question and ask you to maybe give a little bit more of your background because I got to be honest, I find it absolutely fascinating that you went from homeless in your 50s
Yes.
to being able to really get on your feet and teach others how to do it.
Yep.
You've walked the walk, you've been what we are, and now you're going to teach us how to get out of it because you did it yourself. So could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I was growing up, I was never taught about money. A lot of people are not taught about money. You are taught to get a loan so you can get a good credit rating, which is okay, but you're not taught how to manage debt. Um, Now I had a lot of insecurities growing up. I didn't care about money. I wanted to fit in, so I um, bought friends, so to speak. When I started working, I just wanted to spend my money on other people so they would accept me. I would go out and, buy the fancy clothes that everyone was wearing, and just really not think about the future. No, it was all um, reactive spending. And I didn't have any plans on my budget or anything like that. So even though I say I was suddenly homeless at 51, it was actually a lifetime of money mismanagement and not taking responsibility for my own actions. Um, so once I became homeless, it was devastating. Um, and there was a lot of tragedies and misfortunes and everything in my life. I know we all have our ups and downs. Life is not easy, but I was determined to not let not let my life stay that way. um, there was a point in my life where I thought, well, I'm not doing anyone any good and my life is horrible, so let's just drive off a cliff. But obviously, I didn't do that. I have this hope inside of me that something better is out there. And I was so determined to find what that was. When I became homeless, it was like the pivotal point of like, okay, something needs to change and I'm going to find out how I can do it. So yeah, I did that.
Yeah, interesting. I do believe trauma becomes part of that mindset.
Mm.
It's very complicated,
Hmm.
and but what we're going to go through, some of the graphics that I picked out from your book really shows,
Yes,
I think, how you help people to unpack the things that are dysfunctional in our thinking, in our actions. Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead of things. I'm very
that's
excited.
right.
So
Yeah.
let me move on to the next question so we
Okay.
can get closer to that part. And the next question is, what do you hope
Yes.
people will take from reading your book?
I really hope that people can have a life of freedom. I really want to see people set free from the negative money mindsets, the debt. I want to see people free from debt. It's very controlling.
Mm,
You are supposed to be the master of your money, not the other way around. And we live in a society where debt rules, and it's crippling. So
yeah.
I really want to set people free to have that right mindset for above budgeting and everything else. I want people to know that they're worthy, they're loved, they're accepted, they have so much potential. Do not believe the lie that you are not worth anything, because you really are. So that's
Mhm.
my biggest goal. I want people
Wow.
to accept themselves, love themselves, and live a life free from this devastating debt that can control so many of us.
It is absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
I do believe that it does lead to suicidal feelings.
Yeah.
Something as temporary
Hmm.
and materialistic as money, and but yet it can cause us to feel like we don't live anymore. I think,
Yeah.
I imagine most people watching this have probably had moments in their life where they didn't know where the next bill was going to be paid from,
That. Yeah.
or where the next paycheck would come from. And it's scary. It's very scary.
It is
So,
very scary. Yeah.
as part of this section, when I ask you what you hope people will take from it, this is the point where I like to share what I took from reading your book. So,
Beautiful. Thank you.
yes,
Yes.
and your book is so beautiful. It had so much visually going on, where I usually just grab the book and just kind of hold it and read it. I'm actually going to bring up some different pictures or screenshots that I got of the actual interior of your book,
Okay.
and wanted to talk through some of these things with you. So let me bring
Okay.
up the first one.
Yep.
And I just thought this was so interesting. You're just showing how widespread the problem is,
It
and
is.
how much you're in Australia, I'm in the United
Yes.
States, and it's
Yes.
clearly a problem in both of our countries and probably
Mhm.
worldwide. at
Yeah.
least where people have the ability to borrow and just buy the things they can't afford yet. Now, this is such a good graphic, and you have a number of them. I only picked out one. So you really
Yes.
build the case at the beginning of your book, and you talk about the problem, and it's a big problem.
It
So,
is. Yeah, yeah. So I start with, why do we spend the way we do? Because years ago, before all these debts, credit cards, buy now, pay later, this tap and go culture that we have, um,
yeah.
we had to save up to buy things. And I know inflation is higher than our actual
Mhm.
incomes going, so we do need to make sure that ends meet. And I understand that, but I do like that statistic that you just showed. I do go into that chapter and delve deep into why we spend the way we do.
Yeah, yeah. So that's important. And so
Mm,
now we're going to get into the function of fixing the problem. Now that we've shown the problem, or you've
yes.
shown the problem, and so
Yeah.
the next one I pulled out, and I'm just going to let the viewers know the little red arrows; those were added by me.
Yes.
This is, I guess, and in my book, I actually have arrows that I wrote when I read your book. But this is so good to me to stop and ask yourself questions
Hmm.
as you're shopping. And of course I think you could see that I picked out the questions that I really need to ask myself,
Yes.
is this an impulse purchase? How
Yeah.
often will I use that? I mean, really, if I stop and ask myself even those two questions, I will realize that I might buy a new blouse, but I might wear it once. I've got blouses in my closet that
With the
I
tag
have
still on.
I still have tags on them. Like, really, that was an impulse purchase. And then, of course, on the other side of the column, it says, "How long did I have to work to pay for this?"
Yes.
And gosh, that wow! If we really stop and ask those questions and say, is this little blouse really worth 3 hours of whatever it is I have to do to pay for it?"
Yes.
And I think that really
Absolutely.
helps us kind of decide what our needs, what our wants, which is certainly not to say that we can't go buy something that we want. I love this blouse. I love the color of it.
Yes.
I got
Very
it
much. Very nice.
somewhere more affordable. I never shop the high end because you can get great stuff cheap, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I have to be careful because it's not hard to find things that I want. Then so there's a happy medium there. But I really loved that. Now, the next one is more of a worksheet, and there's a lot of worksheets in your book.
There is.
And,
Yes.
so now what you've got us doing is to realize, and this goes back to what you were saying kind of about behavior,
Hmm.
and that our shopping and our spending is often associated with, I guess you could compare it to drinking alcohol or eating food or
Yeah.
shopping. We have things that have triggered us. And
Yes.
sometimes, I'll be honest, retail therapy is really
Hmm.
helpful. So you have
Yeah.
this part, you write down what your triggers are and then what your fix is. And I love
Yes.
that we're not just addressing the problem, but we're getting down to what the fixes are. And
Absolutely.
in your book, you've got writing that goes around this, like talking
Mhm.
about it, explaining and
Yeah.
teaching. So
Absolutely.
I want to let you expound on that a little bit more
Yeah.
because I think that that's probably that one in the next slide I'm going to bring up are some of the most important things that you're teaching. That I mean, you need to have your book in schools and
Yes.
universities
I want
across
to.
the
I want
world.
to. Yes.
So
Yes.
please dive
Absolutely.
into that a little more.
For sure. So with the spending triggers, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So you may not realize you have a spending trigger. So sorry, excuse me. So just before that in the book, I do ask you to keep track of your spending, so you can, when you're spending your money, what are you feeling at that time, and that helps you identify your triggers. So you might be upset, you might be angry. A lot of them are built around emotions. So when you identify your spending trigger, you'll be able to um, realize it or pick it up before you go shopping and say, hey, hang on, this is my spending trigger because I'm angry. So what you do is, once you realize, when I'm angry, I go get my retail therapy. Um, but what you do is you sit down and you think, okay, so anger is a trigger for me. What am I going to put in place to fix that so that I don't go and spend money unnecessarily? So, an example could be is okay, so you're angry. So instead of doing your retail therapy or whatever, maybe you want to go read a good book, go sit in the garden, just go outside, walk on the ground, like barefoot. Grounding is really good. I don't talk about that in the book, but grounding is really good. Or call a friend. So then when you have that angry moment where you want to go shopping, it's like, hold on, this is my trigger. I've got this fixer in place. I'm going to do that instead.
That's so good, and you know what? You can't, what does it say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, I know that's very, cliche, but it's
It's true.
cliche for a reason, and,
Hmm.
I think that's really what you're doing in this workbook in so many ways, and that's just one example of
Yeah.
helping people to actually plan ahead of time. So, like, if I'm triggered because this bad thing happened at work or I'm angry with somebody, and what do I do when I'm angry or I need to forget? I might go wander a store and
Yeah.
say, "Okay, this now what's the fix? What can I do instead?" Now,
Yes.
I wanna ask you something. I want your opinion on this.
Yes.
I really do this.
Yes.
Sometimes, because and I'm not a big time shopper, I'm really not. I'm probably
Right.
making myself sound I'm not, but I probably if when I go to the store, it's probably besides grocery shopping, most
Hmm.
of my time at the store is probably therapy, because I do a lot of my shopping online. I'm busy,
Yeah.
and so if I am feeling depressed, sometimes I got to get out of the house. Now I'm an exercise person, so I've got that. But I'm sorry, I'm getting around to it.
You're
What I
good.
want to say is, I will go and I will buy things, and then I will keep the receipt, and I know I'm returning it. I do. I return almost all of it. I might keep one thing. What do
Mhm.
you think of that habit? It's not in your book. It's just kind of something I wanted to bring up with you. Get your
Yeah,
opinion.
I have returned things before. I understand that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but what I would probably recommend is when you're in that mood and you want to go to the mall, the shops, or whatever, um, don't take your credit card. Leave it at home.
Just don't buy it.
Just don't buy it. If you want to go in and try on dresses, anything like
Mhm.
that, because also buying and returning, and this is not a guilt trip to anybody because I've done it before. It also affects the business.
Mm.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, yay, we've sold something, and oh, no, we've got to refund it. So, also
Interesting.
being
Yeah.
a business owner for a little while,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sort of, yeah. So,
There might be a tiny I don't know if it's an ethical line, but it's certainly a considerate line,
yeah,
to buy and return and yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And
Mhm.
I know it happens a lot, and I like if you buy a gift for somebody and it's not right for them or whatever, and you can return it, and maybe even
Yeah.
exchange it for something else. But what a good thing to do is make sure that if you're just going for the purpose of shopping,
Yeah.
leave your
Just to
credit
see
cards.
what's out there, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
touch
just
it,
leave your
feel
credit
it,
cards at home.
imagine it. Yeah.
Disable that tap and go on your phone or your watch or anything like that so you're not
Mhm.
tempted. Maybe even just take $20 cash with you.
I like that. I like that. I'm glad you said that. I was gonna say 10, but,
Yeah, a 10. Yeah.
in today's economy, it probably takes 20. But, yeah, just
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, I'm gonna give my" and I think this is a good solution because
Yeah.
if it's like with anything, if you tell yourself you can't do something,
Yeah.
then you start wanting it more. I think
Yeah.
there's something to that. If you say, "Hey," first of all, I don't go very often because 'cause I'm really busy, but when I do go, to just say, "Okay, I got $20 in my pocket." I
Hmm.
think that's actually the line from a song. I think 20 is they put
Oh, yes, it is.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes, it is.
$20 in my pocket, and
Yes.
I am going to find the best thing I can buy for $20, and it might just be a little vase,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be a lot, but, I think there's just like an adventure that you put into it to say, "I'm gonna buy the very best thing I can with this $20, and I'm not gonna blow my budget," and we're gonna get to this later because you actually do have a pie chart where you put a
I
little
do.
you got a slice of pie just for this very thing. In fact, let
I
me
do.
bring that up. This is jumping ahead, but
Okay.
I think that
All right.
I think it's
For sure.
appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. So your cash flow segment. So when you get paid, it is really beneficial in budgeting to break your income into these cash flow segments, and then use these cash flows for that appropriate reason. So we have our savings cash flow of 10% of your wage. Now that is for your nest egg. Okay. So you just save that for when you retire. In Australia, we have superannuation. I don't know what you have in America, but you just put in 10%. So if you start this when you first start working, it's amazing what you're going to get at the end of the line. Now, I also have a 10% donations cash flow. I do believe in giving. I don't believe anybody has gone broke from giving into
I absolutely believe
charities.
in that. I
Yeah,
will, let me put it this way, I religiously believe in that, and
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And if you're not religious, that's okay. I think you could also just say, what you put in the universe is what comes back to you, or karma,
Mhm.
but when you give and you plan to give, you're gonna get back. So I'm glad that's in your
Absolutely.
chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe in sowing and reaping, and
Yeah.
how you spend your money is how it's going to pay you back.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the $20 in your pocket or more is just splash cash flow. So that
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of fun. It's like your splash cash.
Splash.
So
I love that you call it that. I love the alliteration. It's just perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. It
So
is just
10% of your income, you can do whatever you want with that. Like, if you want to go shopping, if you want to even save it up over a couple of weeks and go on a weekend holiday or something or other. And then
yeah.
obviously there was the 70% for your expenses, and I break that down into more categories. So yeah.
And if you're the kind of person, and honestly, I think most of us are this way, probably mostly women, maybe men don't have, men go spend time and money fishing or, doing other things. But,
Yes. Yeah.
but if you know that you're somebody that if you need to pick me up, and sometimes we do, and sometimes
Hmm.
for no reason at all, hormones,
Yeah.
who knows? Just to
Yes.
say, all right, I got a little envelope over here where I've been collecting my splash cash.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking out loud here, but if you have this envelope and you're really good, which means you discipline yourself and you manage to keep putting some splash, you might have $100 worth of splash cash in that envelope. So then you
Yeah.
get to really feel good about what you go and buy because you earned it and you manage your money to get to that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And then when you've put that value on money, because I think we've lost the value of money,
Yes.
and ask yourself before you spend, how long did I have to work to pay for this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start getting that mindset, you've got your $100 splash cash and you can go out, but you will start to look for the best deal, the best offer, the best way to use that $100, but still have,
Yes. It just
yeah.
helps you. It just helps you. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love it. Let me bring up another visual here from your book.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is really, uh, probably, in my opinion, the most important
Yeah.
concept. They're all important, but this is to me the most important concept. And
Yeah.
that is the idea that you can have an abundance mindset versus a poverty mindset. And I know that this is real, that this is a thing. And
Yeah.
I am certain that I have been fighting a poverty mindset, even though um, I'm an optimistic person. I'm a hardworking person. I've always worked
Yeah.
lots of jobs, but I know that I have a poverty mindset. And
Yeah.
I have heard of that concept before, but it was really good how you laid this out. So I'm going to let you talk about that as well.
For sure. So one thing that I like to I say in my book as well is think about what you're thinking about. A lot of us just go on autopilot in our lives, and we don't actually stop and what's in my head, what am I thinking, what am I believing. So I've put this chart in to show you the difference between a poverty mindset and an abundance mindset. So with a poverty mindset, let's just talk at the first two. So you think there's never enough money. You think it's hard to come by. You will never buy a house. You will never own a car. You will never do that. Like it's tough. Okay. I'll probably brought up saying money doesn't grow on trees, which but an abundance mindset is optimistic. and is thankful and confident and generous and takes responsibility. So at the bottom of this image, you can see I've got a, little flower pot. Which one of these thought processes are you feeding? Because you can change it.
Yeah.
And you need to identify what you are thinking. This is why you need to think about what you're thinking about. And if you've thought this poverty mindset beliefs for a long time, it will take time to change.
Yeah.
But you can do that. And I also have in my workbook another little thing
Yeah.
where you can start reprogramming your thoughts.
Yeah. And that's
Hmm.
so key because until we intentionally reprogram, we just we home base back to
Exactly.
what we know. And, I think it's something that a lot of us are born into.
Hmm.
Not that we're born into poverty, but into a
No,
poverty mindset.
mindset.
We may have parents that were always very anxious about money, and we just grew up feeling anxious. I mean, that's the last one on the poverty mindset list. And I'm like, that's the one I identify with. For me, money is just something that I'm not always comfortable about. And so,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, being able to reprogram. Here's an example of how we do that.
Exactly. So there are in my book, you can, I give you permission to photocopy and use this. Now you can put this, what I would like to say is write down, like print this off, copy this, write down money mindset affirmations. You can use the positives from the image before, or you can even start saying, I am worthy. I am good with money. Anything that not triggers you, that's the wrong word. Anything that you associate with of being positive and being good with money, write it down. Put this on the mirror in your bathroom. So when you are looking at yourself, you can read these and you're telling yourself visually these things. And it may take a little while to start accepting them. And, you could be saying these, I'm good with money, and then the very next day go and blow $100 on something. That's okay.
Mhm.
You fall down, you get back up.
Yeah.
So just
It's a
keep going
process.
through the
It
process
took
and be
time to
kind.
get that mindset, so it's gonna take time to come out of it, but, yeah,
Yeah.
I really believe in that, and I call mantras too. I'm a big
Yeah.
believer in mantras and
Yeah.
how we train our subconscious to obey our
Hmm.
conscious mind, and so I think that's what you've really done there is create
Yeah.
these amazing, very powerful tools for overcoming the things that really hold us down, and sometimes we just don't even recognize what is the problem. We just know there's a problem. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really good.
It does take time, and you also need to be kind to yourself, because this is quite an emotional thing,
Mhm,
to go through, to have a deep look at yourself,
mm,
and your thoughts and your behaviors and everything like that. And it can bring up triggers and traumas
mm.
from the past. So please, please be kind to yourself. Find that one really good friend, or even a counselor if you need, that you can confide in and say, hey, I'm on this journey. I'm changing myself. Will you be my accountability partner?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's really good, and, the other thing I would point out is I think a lot of times well, I'm certain that many divorces happen because of finances,
Hmm.
and I know talking sometimes with your partner, your spouse about finances can be very triggering because we come from different backgrounds and we have different
Yes.
mindsets. And
Yeah.
I just think that your book and all the worksheets and all that you have in that teaches us to understand what we're thinking could really serve as a tool to help married couples or people in cohabitation relationships where they're sharing
Yes.
costs even if
Yes.
you're roommates, but need to budget together,
Mm.
this is how you can talk about it without fighting, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. And I've made it fun. Like you say, there's a lot of illustrations and workbook, and
Yeah,
just a lot of fun activities along the way, because I don't want it to be hard.
it
Yeah.
really does have light, fun things that are effective.
Yeah.
Most people, if they lost their job, they would not have enough savings to get past 1 month,
Yeah.
which is which is means they start using credit cards, but then they don't have the job to pay it. So I want to bring up another graph that you have. This one really was probably the most impactful, just to see these numbers.
Yeah.
And that is just how much you can save with a little effort.
Exactly. So just saving 10%. So if you have a weekly income of $300, okay, you save 10%, you save $30, and at the end of the year, you have 1,560. Now, obviously, in some bank accounts, you can get interest and it will grow. Um, but as you see, like with your income, because we're all on different incomes, and I know I go from extremes here from $300 to $1,800 a week. Okay, that's quite extreme, and people earn more or less.
Yeah.
But with your income, you don't need to be broke or live in debt. You just need to manage it right.
Yeah.
So by saving the minimum 10%, and just let that grow, that is a fantastic place to start. A
Yeah.
lot of people, one thing that I do mention in my book is to have that emergency fund account,
Yeah.
um, which I have now. But work, just start somewhere, start with that 10%. And it is a good idea because, like you say, if your savings, if you lose your job, and I hope nobody does, if it happens and you've got 1 month saving, what do you do after that? What 1 month of income. So I have friends that have, 3 month savings, 12 month savings. It's just going through the motions and just putting that little bit aside. It's the little things that add up. Here's
Yeah.
another statistic
Little
for you.
things really do add up. And you also included towards the end some really
Yes.
great tips,
Yes,
um, cost saving tips, because those are the little things.
absolutely.
If you save
Yep.
money, you can from not spending it, then you can save it in the bank instead. So
Absolutely. So there's a lot of great tips I've gone in through, groceries, families, insurances, anything like that. One thing that's not mentioned in my book, but I do like to talk about is if you spend, and a lot of people go and buy their lunches and coffees every day, you know, if you spend $27.40 a day, that equates to $10,000 a year.
yeah, and we don't think about that. Or even just the coffee that you swing by and grab on the way to work. Add that
Yeah.
up, boy. You
Yep. So
start
just
saying, look
the
what you
small
could have done
amounts.
with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, there's one tip that you give that I really loved, something you call the grocery stock take.
Yes.
And I'm gonna let you explain that.
Okay. So I talk about, what you have in your home that you've spent money on that because in Australia here, there's a statistic that it costs households 2,000 to $2,500 a year of food they throw out that's still edible.
Mm, that's a
So,
lot.
that is a lot. So that's cost them money. So I say, let's do a grocery stock take. Go through your pantry, your fridge, your freezer, write down what you have, write down the value of it to see exactly what you have sitting in your house that you're not using right at the moment. But when you do your grocery stock take, meal prep around that and use everything that you have before you go and buy more food.
Yeah.
Because you know you're probably I used to be I'm strange. So I would go shopping and I wouldn't take a shopping list and I'm like, oh, I think I need this. And then I'll come home with, a tin of beetroot or something, right? And I've already got 3 tins sitting here that I didn't realize because it's just pushed to the back of the pantry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if you go out of mind, out of sight. So if you go through everything and sort of see, oh, hey, hold on a moment, I've got this. I can make a meal out of that, or I could use, the chia seeds in a smoothie for breakfast, or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, just have a look at what you've got and use that first.
I just think that's so key. And my fridge broke not too long ago,
Yeah.
which meant I had to go diving into the freezer, and
Yes.
move things over. And of course, I ended up throwing away. Oh my gosh, if I'd have weighed it, in pounds, it would just be, I could barely pick it up. That's how
Yeah.
much I wasted because it was down in the back or the bottom of my freezer. And some of it were things like extra French toast that I made,
Yeah.
and I had too many, so I put in a Ziploc bag, put in the freezer. Great idea, but
Yes.
use it. before you make another batch of French toast, for example. And
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
about how much money, especially groceries are so expensive now, how
Mhm.
much money we spend. And if I just go through my pantry and my fridge and my freezer and say, okay, this week, let's see if I can not go to the store this week and just eat what I got. Um,
Mhm.
that tip right there was just that was kind of a light bulb moment for me because I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I just did this. I just threw out, I mean,
Yes.
probably hundreds of dollars of groceries, with
Yeah.
the meats and anyway,
Mm.
that's such a good tip. It really is. Do you have some great tips on how to budget that you use in your household? If so, would you please share it in the comments? It really would be neat to read all of the great tips that we have to share with each other.
Thank
Well,
you.
I want to bring up the next question.
Sure.
And this is getting back, kind of circling back to the book. So, we're going to talk about how you came up with the title of your book and
Mhm.
the cover. So, dive
Yes.
into that, would you?
Okay. So, budget right. It's pretty much speaks for itself. Um, because I went through the mechanics of budgeting, and there are a lot of budget books out there which have fantastic information. But the reason I chose budget right was I wanted it's holistic. It's not just the mechanics of budgeting, it's your mindset as well and your habits and everything. So that's how I came up with budget right. The subtitle, Eliminate Debt and Improve Your Financial and Mental Wellbeing. I wanted to point out that I have in here, I have tips on how to pay your debts off quicker, how to manage your money through budgeting, so it's your financial, but also your mental well-being. So you need to look after your mindset, retrain your mindset if it's been has a negative poverty mindset. So that's how I came up with the name of the book. The image, I wanted something that depicted freedom, stress-free, um, just peace. Just something that was simple and people
Yeah.
can relate to. Put
Freedom is the word
themselves.
that I was thinking before you even said that. If
Yes. Yeah.
associate that, just I just to go out and swing and not have a worry in the world. Gosh, if I
Exactly.
could get the things I think I worry most about money. If I
Yeah,
could manage that, I think I'd be out swinging like that too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's how I came up with it. I wanted something, yeah, freedom and peace and financial and mental well-being. That's what I really wanted to portray on the book cover.
I love it. It's beautiful. It really is. I love the color scheme.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it's just it's a happy. The word
Yeah,
happy comes by. Freedom and happy are the 2 words that I
absolutely.
associate with their cover.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So, as an author with an incredible book on the inside and out, what advice do you have for other aspiring authors?
yeah. Really do it. Get pen to paper or what I did, typing on a laptop, and just write your thoughts down. What do you want to share with people? We all have a story, and we can really help and inspire, and encourage other people. So when you're writing your book, definitely share your story, your skills, your knowledge, your passion. But remember, um, it is your story, but it's not about you. It's about helping others, and you really can do that. And when you have a look at what your book can do to help others, inspire others, just start somewhere small. Even if you do dot points, it's like, oh, I want to talk about this and this and this. And as you're going through, it's like you'll have more thoughts on what you need to do. And it may take a while. It took me 2 years to write this book. Um, but just start and really get passionate about what you want to share. Um, you can go through publishers, or you can self publish. I found an editor to help me lay it out. But I really recommend that share your story, because not sharing your story is not helping anybody.
I agree. That is my belief. That's my firm belief.
Yeah.
That's why I do this show. I want to help authors who have taken the time and gone to the effort to share their story to reach
Yeah.
more people. And then I
Mhm.
always ask this last question because I really want the viewers to recognize how valuable their stories and their wisdom
Mm,
is to other people.
yeah.
So it's really, yeah, it's great to get your advice both on budgeting and just helping people to have the confidence to just go and share their story as well. How long, I'm just curious, how long did it take you from start to finish to begin writing until you published your book?
Probably 2.5 years. So
Mhm.
it took me 2 years because I would start writing, then I would have a stressy moment and not do anything for a month or two, and then I'll get back into it again.
Mhm.
When I found my editor, my book editor, she's beautiful. I did not include my story in my book. I just wanted to share the
And
advice
she
and
said,
stuff that I've learned. And she said, "You need to share your story." And I'm like,
yes, you did find a good editor.
I did. And it took me another 6 months to um, be vulnerable enough to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And writing that, again, back to aspiring authors, it was a healing journey for me as well,
Yeah.
writing my story, being comfortable to get up and say, this is me, real, raw, vulnerable. This is what I've gone through.
Well,
Then be
you
like,
are a triumph, and you
yeah,
cannot have triumph without tragedy. So
exactly.
you were willing to share the things that didn't go right
Hmm.
until you figured out how to make them right. And that's
Yeah,
what makes your book really effective. So,
yeah.
yes, I'm glad that you did that, and I'm glad you had an editor. I
Yes.
A lot of people think that because it's called self-publish, that means they have to
Mhm.
do it all themselves, and the reality is you shouldn't do it all yourself.
No.
You can't. You cannot do it all yourself and have it be quality.
Mhm.
It's
Exactly.
valuable still, yes, but and whether that means hiring an editor or if you have somebody who's got the skills, use them. But definitely, definitely always get other eyes on it so that you can turn out something that's really useful. And your book
Exactly.
is your designs, your graphics. Did you have somebody that worked with you for that as well? Or are you a
Uh,
graphic designer?
I created all the graphics.
You
Is that what
did.
I did?
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive. So what do you do? Or if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
is that
Mm,
your job on, in the outside the
um,
book world?
what I do right now is, I'm a trainer that trains, high school students on the Diploma of Business, and I absolutely love it, just,
Oh,
encouraging students doing
yeah.
that. But I did have some businesses, online businesses that I talk about that didn't quite go well, but I used a program called Canva, where I used to do a lot
Okay.
of my social
Okay.
media and create a lot of things.
Yeah.
So through Canva, I'm creating all these
Mm.
forms and these, images, these illustrations, and everything like that. I'm a very visual person, which obviously you can tell from my book, but I also think it makes it breaks down the reading component, makes it more interactive for the readers
Yeah.
to go through that. So yeah,
Yes. Well, that's neat. That's neat to hear. So, so yes, definitely there are things you can do yourself that you might be afraid
yes,
to that you can do yourself. Just get some other eyeballs on it is the main
absolutely,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Well,
cool.
thank you so much for coming on the show. It has just been a delight to meet
It's been a
you,
pleasure.
and there's so much to learn. We could spend a couple hours at least. I mean, you could do a whole seminar, and you probably should.
I want to, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
But thank you for sharing what you did on the show and taking your time. I know it's really early for you, just getting your day started to come and
yeah,
join me. Oh, thank you so
beautiful. No,
much
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so
for
much.
you. If you're a reader that enjoys nonfiction books and would like to help out new authors, go to my website, triumphpress.com, and you can sign up to be an ARC reader. ARC is an acronym for Advanced Reader Copy, and that means that you would get a copy of a book before it's released to read it and be prepared to leave them a review when it's published. If that sounds like something you'd like to do, be sure to go to my website and join my Triumph ARC Reader team. If you got something out of this show, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps us to reach more people. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel because I'd love to have you in my community.